Hello and welcome to another edition of the Talking Basketball podcast. I am Mark.
I am Paul.
We've got another guest in the studio today.
We have a professional, Mark.
An actual professional has dared to enter the studio.
And we are talking about former solent Kestrel, former Surrey Scorcher, and former Hadger player here, Mark. Do you want me to go without any further ado?
Give us the line.
Yeah, now, stand and cheer for number 12 at small forward, Adam Riabi. That was a good one.
That was a good one.
I like that one.
Welcome to the studio, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, good evening, but not good night yet.
Well, Mark, everyone will know this player because I've talked about him a few times. And just for our listeners, this guy, Adam Riabi, is the player who I approached to play for the Portsmouth Force when he was playing in the BBL for the Surrey Scorchers.
Yeah.
And it's a running joke that I tell people that I approached a BBL player and said, do you want to come and play NBL Div 3 for Portsmouth Force?
I mean, look, I'm sure it was a very nicely worded email.
It was lovely. And if you don't ask, if you don't get.
Did you pause and think, shall I seriously think about this?
Yeah, it was up there.
He was like, you've got no idea where I'm playing, do you? You know, and this is what I actually admire about Adam is his response back. He could have been a complete a-hole about it and just gone, I'm a professional player, mate, or ignored it, but he didn't. And I had a really nice message back from him saying, I'm really sorry I can't play at the moment. I'm currently playing in the BBL for the Surrey Scorchers, but I really appreciate you reaching out, and you never know what might happen in the future, or something like that.
So you're basically the reason now why anyone we ever speak to, he's like, I've got to research this now. I've got to do my research.
He's paranoid.
Wow. It was a nice response. And I think that says something about you and your personality.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. How I was raised.
I said that to your mum when I saw it at a Portsmouth Force game. I said it was like that response, and I think I had a similar one from Zach as well at the same time. And it's like, it's just a credit to how you guys been raised.
Well, I mean, everyone was going to recognise the surname.
Obviously. Yes. So this is the older brother of Zach Riabi, who was playing for the Portsmouth Force last season.
So, were you guys very competitive playing against each other growing up?
We were and we weren't. So the reason we were is because in recent years we have played against each other, kind of pick up one-on-one. That was quite fun. The reason we weren't is because there's 5 years between me and Zach.
Yeah, fair enough.
So prior to me going away to America and all stuff like that, he was actually way too young, and it just would have been a bit of a wind-up, to be honest. But we've trained a lot together. We haven't really played against each other much, but in terms of working out, it's always been very easy to work out with each other throughout the years.
Because I grew up with him and his brother, and there's 5 years difference between you guys, and just over. But there was a competitive element in there always at the best of times.
Well, I like to think that I got visions of Adam dunking on Zach, going, "Come on, Zach, play some defense."
I mean, I'm not sure. Do you keep a tally if you've ever, done some one-on-one matchups? Do you keep a tally on that?
When any serious player plays, you're always going to 11, or you're always going to 21, or whatever. So yeah, there's always a tally. Always a tally.
Nice.
Well, Mark, as far as the show's concerned, we're actually got a tick in one of our goals as well. So not many people know this, but we. At the start of the year, wrote down a list of what we wanted to do with the show and stuff like that, and included some guests and things. And just from my list, I wrote down a couple of guests, and then my top 3 guests of who I wanted on the show. Yeah. In the top 3 was Adam Riabi.
I appreciate that.
So
here we are.
A big tick for the show.
Is this the first one of the year as well?
That's what we meant. I put J-Lo. Sorry, but I would bump you for J-Lo.
It's not the first of the year. I don't know what we're in now. What, 2 or 3 in maybe?
I have no clue. I don't even know what
it goes into a real blur, Adam. Real blur.
Because we record stuff and sometimes it's there live and then it goes out almost the next day. Other times we do a guest one and this will be out in a week or two's time and we cue it, and sometimes we've done a couple where we've recorded it and it's been almost 2 or 3 months because it might benefit them or it's better for scheduling or whatever.
Yeah.
So I know we're on 57, 58 shows.
There you go.
And we've got 2 coming out in the next few days, then a few after. So, yeah.
I've listened to a few, and you guys are doing well. So.
A few? Adam, you should be a subscriber. Listen to every damn show.
Wake up to it.
You should have that and put it on your speakers and just blast it out where you live. So everyone can appreciate it.
Well, to all our listeners, please email ukbasketballpodcast@gmail.com and say anything to irritate Mark, especially if you're selling CCTV or any basketball kits. Anyway, right.
I had another one today. Like, they actually try and phone me. I said, yeah, and they're like, we want to sell you basketball kits and basketball wear. It's like, why? I don't run a basketball team.
I haven't got time for this. I've got Adam Riabi on the show. Go away. That's what you need to be saying to them. Right, Adam, let's go for your basketball journey. So, like Mark said, this is our first professional player on the podcast. And I guess for you, it starts Solent Kestrels?
No, it starts before that. It's got to start with your family, surely, with your dad and your uncle.
Yeah, exactly. So growing up, it was my dad who started me in basketball. I go through a period of growing up where I didn't know what sport I actually wanted to play. I used to try a load of stuff. I never used to fit in kind of in school with the old football or whatever. Then in the end, we did go to basketball. Now, I used to have, where I used to live, there was a basketball court at the end of the road. So Dad always used to just take me down there. And that's where it kind of started for me.
Amazing. What other sport was it that you particularly liked?
So I was a good swimmer. I played tennis, played a rugby club before, and because I was small and skinny, then I just got told by my stepdad to just take the ball and just run and don't look back. So that didn't last very long until I got smacked a few times. But no, it was cool. Took a little bit from everything, and then ultimately ended up in basketball, which was down in played for Portsmouth, and it was with Matt Birch and E-Man and Simon. They were all my kind of coaches growing up. And then from there went up and joined Solent Kestrels. That's kind of the next step for kids growing up.
Yeah, so I mean, these are in the days where I don't think Portsmouth had the setup that could cater for talent like Adam, and that's when it's going to be E-Man or C-Man would have pushed you towards Matt Guyman or someone at the Kestrel exactly or Itchen College.
There was 4 of us boys that were good and decided that we were going to pull together and go over to Kestrels, and that was where we kind of elevated through the under 15, 16, 18, and so that was kind of the next sensible step for players that were taking it seriously. It's like you mentioned back then, there was kind of a bit of a gap with Portsmouth where it's grassroots and then it's like not much else, so we had to try and find a way to keep the hunger going and keep the tenacity alive, I guess.
And for, I guess, players like yourself was the real motivator from a Portsmouth perspective, because we'd see guys like you go out the door down the road and we're like, man, if we could keep this talent and build on it, we got a National League set up here.
You just imagine being Kestrels though. They're like, we got a 6'6" guy who can ball. He wants to turn up. Yes, bring him in.
Yes, please.
Yes, bring. Has he got? Oh, there's 3 other players. Well, bring them in. Yeah. Bring them in.
But I imagine it'll be a similar thing at Whiteley or something like that at the moment, where they'll be pushing them in either direction. Yeah. But it is what it is. But that must have been good going from, Portsmouth and that setup, and then you're playing on that Kestrels court, which is pure basketball court, the purest basketball court, I like to call it.
No badminton.
No badminton lines. That must be good going there. as a 14-year-old?
It was good. I will say there were some badminton lines in some of the courts that we had to play in. There was quite a lot, especially down in the younger age groups. But it was definitely good, and definitely the next step that we had to take. And it was quite a shock, to be honest, because it was like okay, well, you like basketball. How much do you like it, and how much are you going to work for it? So it was those three things combined. And yeah, over the years, we just watched people drop off, and throughout college and throughout professional, you just watch people drop off, and you might be the only one standing out of all those people, but they all taught you something to get to that next level. And if it's meant for that person, then they'll move on and go to that next bracket. And if not, then you've learned loads of lessons. Like I'm sure the guys that I played with for Kestrels, the four of us that moved from Portsmouth to Kestrels, like they wouldn't give that up for the world, because they learn a lot of stuff, and sport teaches the best lessons in the world, in my opinion. So
yeah, agree.
Yeah.
So how long were you at Kestrels?
I played at Kestrels from under 14 all the way up till men's. So I played up until under 18, and then from there I played in the men's team for a season with Matt Guyman.
I love that as well. I love it when you have players that progress through the age groups, then all of a sudden they're in the men's team. I just love that because it was
great, because that was like a coach is recognizing talent from the third year Itchin guys and the under 18 guys for Kestrels, and then putting them in the men's team that was Division 1 at the time, and then you then go to play the matches, and you get those few seconds where you get to get on, and like the coach trusts you, and it was a heavy schedule being at Itchin. A lot of stress on your body. You really had to learn how to act like a professional, even though you were very far from being one. But they teach you the best lessons, and that was kind of the biggest pool of people that would then drop off and not play basketball anymore, or a small amount that go up to the next level. So it was kind of the ultimate test, and they do a great job over there of finding talent and progressing it to the next level, as you guys have seen with all the players that they've progressed up, and even NBA.
That's great plays, right? Really saying that it's how holistic it is, and it's forming you as a young person, not just as a professional sports person, but as a young person, forming you and everything.
Yeah, like Adam said, there's I almost said Zach then for a second. Like Adam said, there's there's life lessons definitely in basketball. Yeah. But for those who don't know, Itchin College is an absolute juggernaut when it comes to the basketball scene. And a lot of great players do that transition where they're playing for Itchin, and Kestrels is that goal.
Yeah.
And you're on that build up. So when Kestrels won their 4 in a row, but it was like 4 in 6 seasons, I think they won it. But it was 4 in a row. You're in the build up to that. So you're in the Div 1 as that team's progressing to get to that.
Yeah. And that's how sports works. Like you don't see the results straight away. That's not how things work, and that's not why you value them. They work because it's been a few years prior of preparation, and you guys work so hard, and then you start seeing the results. And that's really the long-term reward of sport, and even going to the gym. You don't see stuff straight away. That's why it's valued, because it comes with time.
Yeah, well said. Yeah.
And what's your mindset in the Kestrels? Like, are you then at that point thinking, I want to play for the NBA, or I just want to get to America, I want to play in the BBL, or I'm just playing? Where's your mindset?
Yeah, good question. So when I was at Kestrels, obviously I was still in kind of secondary school. And then I was telling people I'm going to go to America from like year 9, year 8, year 9. And the people that I go to school with, if they're listening, they better be listening. They'll vouch for me. They'll say, yeah, you did say you are going to go to America. And that's just been my life. So when it came up to it, I was like, yeah, I'm ready to go. That's just what I've been aiming to do. But yeah, it's a lot of stress, a lot of good stress that teaches you a lot of lessons. And if you come out on the other end, then you're most likely going to make it to that next level. So it's a very good teacher of how to train yourself to be professional.
Yeah. And at the Kestrels, I hope you don't mind me asking, what do you think of Matt Guyman? I mean, just by the interactions I've had with him and played with him in the past. But what I love about what I've seen from Matt is gone from that player to that coach and that mentality. I don't know if it's from when he was a player that he's taken into his coaching, where he'll call a timeout and turn around to his players and say, right, guys, what are you seeing on the court?
Yeah.
And take that input from them and stuff like that.
I was going to mention that actually, because he did used to listen to a lot of players more than a lot of the coaches I've had before. And because that reciprocated trust between the players and the coach is imperative. And for Matt, he used to know exactly what he saw out on the court, but he would almost trust, the point guards or the Americans or whatever it was. When I was at the men's team, I noticed it the most. To trust, what do the professionals see, or what do the young players see as they're trying to develop their minds to read the game. And then after that, he'll say, yeah, I agree. Also, we need to do this, this, and this. And then you're all on the same page, and you go back out on the floor feeling like he's trusted what your eyes have seen is the right thing, and also to look out for these extra things that you might have missed on the way. So Matt and Jack, especially Jack as well, with the kind of individual workouts that he does. Jack O'Keefe, yeah. Itching was probably the best time for me. I was still living here, and I had to get a bike. I took my bike to the train station, used to cycle up to Itchin from Sholing Station.
Oh wow, that's a trek every day.
Every day.
Warm up.
Yeah, and then you can imagine playing for the men's team as well. Men's practice finishes at 10 p.m, so then it's a train back late, and then you're up. You might have training at 6:30 the next day for Itchin. So then I've got to get a 5:30 train over, and that's just how it rolls. And that's what I meant earlier when I said it's the real test, because if you don't like it, you don't need to do it. No one's forcing you to. My mum and dad and stepdad, they're not pressuring me to do anything. They just provide the support when it's there, but it's all internal. It's all intrinsic.
Yeah, that's you building up that mentality of going, right, this is what I want. I have to get up.
Yeah,
it's on me.
Yeah, it's a good lesson, and I wouldn't change it at all. And maybe if I had it an easier way, maybe I wouldn't have gone as far, because maybe I'm not putting enough pressure on myself, or learning how to deal with time management, or just stuff like that. So
yeah,
definitely a good teacher. But in terms of your original question about Matt and Jack, they're the top coaches that I've had in my career. There's kind of a few of them, but Matt and Jack, they're definitely what I'd say were my top coaches growing up.
And Jack at the moment is taking over the Kestrel's men's team, so they're in Div 2 at the moment. Yeah. He has confirmed that he will come on the show. Though I haven't organised it with him yet.
That'll be great.
He's confirmed it.
Yeah.
He said he'll come on. Yeah.
He's a great chat.
Well, something you just mentioned there. Obviously, after playing with the Kestrels, you said you transitioned. You went to the States.
Yeah.
But you mentioned just a moment ago about whether you'd ask the guards or the team or the Americans. At that time when you were playing, did you see people who were playing from America that were coming over to the Kestrels as a different type of player at that time, as opposed to a homegrown Kestrel, should we say?
Yeah, so I learned it.
Because then obviously you then went there, so then you experienced it.
No,
so you've got quite a nice angle on that.
Yeah, of course. So I'd say in retrospect, I did notice some, but until I actually moved to America, I didn't really understand what it was. So what I mean by that is, when I was in that men's team for Kestrels, and there were a few, I think 3 Americans that came over, you don't understand how much pressure they're put on to be as athletic and call the plays and do everything, because they're the kind of few professionals that they're
your franchise player.
Yeah, that's it. So, and the rest of the people are just supporting acts, basically, that do their role plays. But in terms of Americans, it's different. It's a different kettle of fish, the way that we play over in Europe compared to Americans, and that's why I think European players do so well in America. Once they really know the game and they're also athletic, they're almost like unbeatable. I mean, you see the NBA, how it is.
Well,
But yeah.
Jokic may be exception to athletic, but
Yeah, that's true. Bad bod.
or maybe Luca as well, thank you for that.
Yeah,
but,
that's true.
but like you say, they know the fundamentals in the game so well, and they've adapted it
Yeah,
accordingly.
exactly that.
But you see in the NBA, in the BBL, in the UK, and obviously in the Euro leagues, you see a lot of the American players coming over.
Yeah.
And a lot of teams have 3 to 5 players who are
Yeah,
from
yeah.
the States.
Yeah.
And like you say, they tend to be almost like the pivotal players on those teams. So it is really interesting that no one maybe ever considers the fact that they've got a lot of weight on their shoulders because they're like, we're here, we have to perform to that level.
It's not anything that anybody says, you get a medal for it, because it's at the end of the day they're getting paid. So just like it's everybody's job to go to their job 9 till 5, it's their job to come over and win a few games here and there. And in the grand scheme of life, it's not as tough as how some people have it. So
no, absolutely.
But it's a bit like I think it was Mark Jackson who said this, where he was like, when he went to Italy, you go there, you're the franchise player, you're expected to perform. And if
you almost got to do a little bit extra than whatever else is because you're here on
was it Mark who said that?
I want to say it was Mark, but also
maybe Ryan.
Ryan said it. Well, I think when he went to one of the away games for the FIBA or something like that.
Okay.
But also it has echoes of Steve. When he said that he went to the States when he was
Steve
younger.
Davison.
Steve Davison, yeah. And when he was saying that when he went to the States, it was that he was the outsider coming in, and there was all the homegrown talent, and he was like, I was just blazing them, and they were like, okay, hang on, the outside talent's coming in, and
that's what you should expect.
He had the other way round, where they were like, we don't want the outside talent blazing, we want to raise everyone up, and and they sidelined him for that, which was interesting, isn't it? How we've flipped that.
Steve helped me quite a bit, to be fair. I remember we did a few sessions in Canoe Lake before I went out to America, and he helped me a little bit, because he was telling me about what he's doing now in terms of job, but also what things to look out for when he's in America. So shout out to Steve.
Wow, that is couldn't get someone better who's gone through the whole American experience. He was playing for, before we went out there, he probably was, I think it's probably Team Solent maybe in those days before he went out, but and then he was the Portsmouth Smugglers National League, and we went up to Div 2. So he'd be a great person to. That's a great. And one thing I think Steve Davison is the unsung hero a little bit as far as coaching and developing young guys. He actually did quite a lot in the city of Portsmouth. So when you said that, it didn't surprise me at all. It was like, okay,
It was like I just hit him up, and he was like, more than happy to do that. And
E-Man, Simon, Steve, they're all names that keep picking up. Mick, they're all ones. Matt Birch,
all of them.
All names that seem picking up, aren't they? It's nice to see.
With kind of sport and stuff like that, the more mixes you get, and the more different variety of coaching, and how well people mix with other people, the more people you can get information from and learn stuff from, you're going to end up being a better player than the people that just stick with one coach, because you learn so many different ways of how to be versatile and learn to deal with different situations. And I'd say that's something that I try and do quite often, is learn from loads of different people, and see what their experience was, or maybe that can help me not make a mistake in 2 months' time or 6 months' time. You just don't know.
So you get on, you're 18, 19, get on that plane.
Yeah.
Go to the States.
Are you on your own when you get on that plane?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So take us through it. I mean, because that like you said, you were young. That was I'm going there. That's going to happen.
So we're talking about Hillsborough Community College here.
Correct. Yeah. So
where's that based?
That's in Tampa, Florida.
Ooh.
So it was
weather shock.
It was a 10 out of 10 place to be.
It was like, where's the beach?
Yeah, it was right there. It was right
Nice.
there.
Wow.
But so during the recruitment process for me, I was obviously still itching, and all of us, the few that were going to America, was all doing the same thing in terms of recruitment. And finally had about 4 or 5 schools hit me up and say, we want you to come out. Some were offering visits, a couple weren't. And so we took up the first one we took up was Hillsborough Community College, and we went there, and it was, I couldn't fault it. And my mum's very instinctive with how she feels about stuff, and oh, this doesn't feel right. I don't know about this, or I can see you being here. And so when you're on your visit and you hear stuff like that, and you feel like it's a great place, they actually just gave me the scholarship paper there and then at the end of the trip.
Oh, wow.
and I signed it before I left. So it was a great experience for me. The players there at the time, there was kind of in like a trial period, so that they'll always kind of chuck you in a trial that they do for loads of local players as well. So the current players at the uni don't normally trial in that, obviously, because they've already got their spot. But you kind of competing with all the local players, and I had a great few days there because I had spent a few days with the current team, training with them and working out with them. And then when it came to this kind of local tryout,
that's invaluable. That is, you're at that
they were
level.
all
then,
they were all hyping me up on the side, and like I was dunking, and like everyone was like, "Oh yeah."
Right, take us to that training. Take us back just those couple of days before to that training with the incumbent team.
Yeah.
What was that step up like between coming from here and then going out and saying, right, this is the current team, and this is the standard that I'm going to be at? Was that a step, or was it like
it was a step. It was a step. So you can be told anything. You can be told how to prepare for it. You can be told whatever. But if you've played a certain way, like we do in Europe for so long, and then you go out there and everyone's just like so athletic, throwing alley-oops, and you've just got like some 6'8" guy that just doesn't really do much else except dunk, like things are just going on really quickly. You have to learn to just adapt quickly, and I'd say luckily for me, I am quite adaptive in how I respond to different stuff. So if I have to be faster, or if I have to jump a little bit higher or whatever, then I'm able to do that. But yeah, for the first few days, it was like okay, it's like this. So yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, what were their? Did they tell you what their reaction was from seeing the European play style? Because that might have been new for them as well. It's a learning lesson for them on their same time, isn't it?
So good point. So in America, it's viewed a lot as like you're almost like scared because you pass the ball a lot because you're used to playing a more team orientated style of basketball. So like if I'm open, but the guy next to me is open, I'll make the pass because that in my head, that's how I'm wired to, make the extra pass, because statistically he's probably likely to make it if we got kind of the same shooting percentage. But for them, they'd be like, why don't you shoot the ball?
So that's basically Luka, Joker, all of the great players. That's exactly what they do.
Yeah, that's it. And so that can be looked at as like, oh, you don't want it, or like, you're not tough enough or whatever. But it's really like you got to learn quickly that, okay, well, I've got the ball now. Like I've been past it twice. I was given a rule that if I ever touch the ball twice in one play, you go and score. Like there's no like.
Oh really?
You don't pass it off again. If you come down and you get past the ball, and the next sensible step is to pass it on to somebody else, you end up getting it back. You just got to go score. Bearing in mind that the shot clock's over there. You just got to get it done before it's too late. But yeah, the rule was to assert your dominance. Try and.
Okay. So you mentioned shot clock. Sorry, we had that with Steve. I think he was mentioning about the shot clocks and the differences in college ball as well. So what is?
I know. Well, don't forget, Steve was.
I mean, obviously,
was he high school?
Yeah, but
was he high school? Or was Alex high school? Alex Byrne. I can't remember. One of them was high school, but he was basically saying there's no shot clock.
I think it was the high school was no shot clock, and then when they went to college it was, but then they had a different timing, and some states still don't have the shot clock, I believe.
Yeah, no, it is still 24 seconds to be fair. It's all still the same. I think high school is different, but I was never out there for that, so I'm not too sure. Obviously, a load of stuff is different for high school, like the 3-point line is way shorter than it is for college, which like we probably all three of us here would probably have like 50 points in a high school game if we were to lace it up now and go shoot, because it's
especially in those days you were playing for the men's Kestrel, so that you'd have already been further back.
Yeah, you'd be shooting from the halfway line if you was to drop yourself in an American high school gym.
I haven't got 50 points in NBA 2K. I don't know about how to get real life.
I just wanted to ask, there was just something we missed over. I just wanted to go back. How did the scholarship actually materialize? Is that something that the Kestrels went and did for you, or you went and did that, or were they scouting you? How did it actually come up?
We had a recruitment company at the time that was focusing on the EABL league. So for Itchin, it was a company called CCR, Custom College Recruiting, and they helped us all kind of get interest. From there on, they would then send us a message from America and, you know, send us an email of like what they could offer, or, you know, it's a Christian uni or something like that. And there's loads of different kind of variations of what the offers were. Yeah. So in the end, they reach out to you once you put your kind of profile out there and your highlight tape and your averages and kind of what, you know, your history is, etc. And if they like you, they've got a whole database. They showed me when I was out in America after a few months, kind of what you see. Like you just filter out kind of combo guard and 6'6" or whatever, and £200, and it just filters like,
oh wow,
you know, Czechoslovakia. It filters out like every country of every player, and you can just watch their highlight tape. And if you're interested, just ping them an email.
So man, some of the chances then.
Yeah.
I don't want to say lottery chances, but if it's like that, it's like about, okay, I've got 100 players here, I've got 2 spots.
Yeah, no, it's minimal.
Yeah.
Statistically, I think it's like less than 1%.
But people forget that there's only over 500 and something concurrent NBA players at any one time.
Yeah.
Like everyone just, you think the NBA is like,
it's
not actually, and there's only been, I don't know, however many, 5,000, 10,000 players ever in the NBA.
Yeah. Well, Adam,
it's nuts.
Something you said, I'd love to get your view on it.
Hit me.
And it was saying you were saying about this game where you're going into. This is the pressure game where you're playing against the local guys, and there's a spot on the team or 2 spots, and all 12 of you going for that. We've all been in those games. What's your mentality, or how do you play like that? I know the only reason I ask that because a lot of people are like, I'm getting the ball, I'm going, because I need to prove my ability. And I think a long time ago when I've been in those situations, I always think, do the coach want a team player here or someone who's going to dish it off? Or I don't know. What's your mentality going into that? Are you like, I want to just show my skills, or is it?
No, I'm way more reserved. Even in life, I'm kind of the same. I'll sit back and observe what people are like, and then once I learn where I can fit in, then I'll go ahead and assert myself, and people will then notice. So in
where's the gap?
Yeah, in that game, if there's like a load of people that they weren't very good, there'd be like 1 or 2 times I'd pass. After that, like I'd go and show them what I could do. If it was the right play, I wouldn't go and force it. And like you said, I'm gonna go score now. Like, I've never really been like that. It's almost like the game will give you opportunities, and you have to do what you are taught to do and make the right decision. So yeah, a lot of the Americans would be like, nah, I'm just gonna go score. But for me, it was like, is this the right play? Yeah. What do I need to do?
Trying to complement it.
Yeah,
it's sort of that hero ball mentality, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're tough games to play in as well, because if everyone's getting it and going, right, I'm going it, then you get it and go, well, hang on, I have to kind of do something with the ball now. They're horrible games sometimes to be involved in.
I've never been, not as a fanboy with someone like LeBron, but everyone has always criticised him as someone who's a pass-first mentality, and you go, but on the same hand, people will also say he's got a great basketball IQ. You go, yeah, so if he's passing it's because he knows.
Which one is it?
There's a better shot available. You don't critique when Jokic scored something. He took 3 shots the other day in a game. That's it, 3 shots.
Did they win the game?
Of course they did.
There you go then.
And then he got his assists for like 16 and all, crazy. And you go, yeah, because he's there to help his team.
The best question for that is when you hear people say, would you rather have 40 points and lose the game, or 5 and win the game? And you just, from that question, you can see what kind of player they are or would be if they weren't a basketball
I'll
player.
take 0 points, 0 minutes, and win the game.
Do you want to be Russell Westbrook, or do you want to be James Harden, basically?
Right. All that matters is the win, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And I got a great example, and it's this week. This was Spurs taking on, who are they playing? Milwaukee Bucks. Who's the new guy? New Spurs guy? Rookie of the year?
Wemby.
So Wemby.
He's not going to be a rookie.
Wemby is inside the key. Giannis comes in and gets absolutely rejected by Wemby. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
What happens after that? So it's a great video clip. What happens after that? They lose by 3. Spurs lose by 3 in that game. Giannis gets rejected, goes down the end, nothing happens.
Giannis in the press conference said, he's not I don't know what height he is, but that is wrong. Whatever they're telling you his height is
But
wrong.
look up that game, and it's a real...
No, it's a great game.
I guess
it was a good game.
It's complimentary on what we were just talking about. Everyone's focus was, he got that massive rejection. He lost the game.
Yeah.
There was a stat recently on Detroit and Spurs. If you combine their totals together, it's something like 6 wins and 60 losses or something of the teams combined. It's like awful.
Hey Mark, I just thought we've done more shows this year than Detroit have won in the season so far.
They're 3 for 34. 3 for 34. Like what do you do?
What's going on?
Have you had that? Have you ever had that at a point? I know it's off topic, but have you ever had a point where you've been on a team that has not been losing, but just thought, come on, why have we not got this momentum? What's going wrong?
Yeah, I have been on those teams, and you learn a lot of lessons, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it's almost like you celebrate the massive wins.
And those teams usually do the massive wins as well. It's like the Plymouth Patriots beating London Lions. Like everyone's like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Like, it's completely out of nowhere. And they're still like, they've got 2 wins to their name the whole season.
Yeah.
One of which is against the top team.
Well, that was like with the Lakers when I think Kobe was injured, and everyone was kind of celebrating because they had just come out of like a 10-game losing streak or something, and all the kids like D-Lo and everybody else was celebrating, and he's just like shaking his head.
You
like,
weren't happy.
Yeah, like, what are you celebrating for?
Yeah.
So that's just the mentality, but definitely been in losing teams.
I wrote this down talking about the mentality you had. It's just a good little story. You're talking about your training at the Solent Kestrels till like 10 o'clock. You're getting on a train. I mean, that train's what? Half an hour, but you got to cycle to the train station, cycle from the train station back home. Then you're getting up, do that to get to a practice at 6:30. I don't know. This is going back in the 80s. Remember Cram and Sebastian Coe, both runners. I think they were long distance runners. I think it was 800 meters and 1600 might have been there.
Well, Lord Coe's the head of the Olympics committee now.
So what happened was, I think it was Sebastian Coe who on Christmas Day he went for his normal workout run, and in the afternoon he was like, I need to go for my run again, and then he was like, can't be bothered. I really can't be bothered to go for the run. And then in his head he thought, Cram's going out right now, and he's going out, so I have to go out. And he went out and did it, and he's like, it's on in those moments when it's cold outside, it's dark, it's raining, that's when the real professionals turn up and get outside and do their workout, or go to a training session, or get on the train to do whatever they need.
That's exactly it.
Or if you're Kobe, when you finish training early in the morning and everyone turns up, you then do another training sgoing to prove that I'm going to do double what you do.
But it's inspirational as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Like that in particular, what you're referring to is when the USA team in particular, most of the team went out on a night out, and then a load of them got into the elevator to go to bed.
Yeah.
And Kobe goes to walk in, and they're like, "Oh, have you just come back?" And he's like, "No, I've been to bed, and I'm waking up, and I'm going down to the gym now." And they were like, "No, you're not." So, and I think it might have been LeBron who went down and saw him working out at 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m. The next day, LeBron's down there with him. Day after that, there's 3 players down there. Going like 5 days. I think the entire team, with the exception of Carmelo Anthony, was down there.
Yeah, sounds about right.
But again, that kind of stuff is inspirational because
You lead from the front, don't you?
it's like, wow, hang on. If he's doing something, I need to be doing what he's doing to...
Yeah. What was easier itching is that there was a load of us that were doing the same thing. So although I was the only one from Portsmouth doing the early sessions, we were all meeting up and working out at 6:30 or whatever before classes started. So when you were there, you're all doing it together. But of course, obviously Kobe's different gravy, so he'd just turn up on his own. You don't care.
But you say something like that. Actually, Steve said something in his podcast, and it was actually about when you are in the youth teams and you're in the college, up to that certain stage, the access that you have to training, I won't say it's unlimited, but it's so limitless that you can spend as much time doing all that as you want and really honing your skills.
I learned that in America compared to here.
Oh, really?
Because, well, for here, you got to pay however much it is an hour to get into a certain gym, and then you're like, oh, I really want to stay and work out, and they'll be like, oh, sorry, it's booked for badminton, and you'd be like, what?
You got to pay in England?
Yeah, so that's getting better though. I know maybe not down in
the badminton is
Portsmouth. No,
the badminton's definitely not getting better.
No, I meant the court availability. We're building more stuff now. And
like in France, like Simon Couture, when he came on the show, he's telling us they actually give the court to the basketball club and say, right, you manage it.
Yeah.
And they'll say, right, these are our sessions. And
I'd like to book a badminton court.
No.
Sorry.
No.
Out.
So, what's it like playing in America? I've seen some of the videos, but...
Was it everything you thought it was going to be?
Yes and no, I guess. Yeah, it was everything I thought it was going to be. From hearing the stories from the older people, my teammates that were Kestrels, the men's players that have been to America, or my friends that have, been there before me. They told me the stories, and it was like that. Especially being in Tampa, where it's a nice city, and you got the lifestyle outside of training and.
Got Clearwater and stuff.
Clearwater, we used to be there every weekend.
Nice
every weekend. But yeah, in terms of the game, it was definitely something you had to learn very quickly. And there are some lessons that you learn about yourself that you have to kind of rewire how you play the game to fit and to thrive out there, because you can definitely be noticed out there for playing a European style game if you're kind of an average kind of player. But for you to really stand out, you do have to adopt how they play, because in college that is how they play. They play more kind of aggressive and athletic, and just got to learn. That's it. Just got to learn.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because then when you see incumbent players from college who then get drafted and go into the NBA, they almost unwork some of that.
Yeah, it's
kind of interesting. It's like they're teeing themselves up, because that was the. I think we were talking about with Mark Jackson about the route that people have to get. If you want to get in the NBA, it was almost you have to go to the college there. You have to go there. That's the only feeder in.
Yeah,
and it's getting better than people taking European people in now, but it's still slow. It's mainly that is the only way to get in there.
Yeah, and as a player, they're the people that make it professional, or the people that can turn up to any team or any country and just learn and just be like, okay, you play a little bit more, zone defense, or you play a little bit more athletic on offense, I'll adapt to that. Or you need me to play the 3 or play the 4, I'll adapt to it. They're the people that will get picked up, kind of being versatile. And I feel like throughout my career, I've played 1 through 5. My whole career, I've been able to play kind of 1 through 5, apart from kind of the professional side of stuff. But being able to play multiple positions has helped me a lot. So in America, I played 1, 2, 3, and 4, all in 4 years. So in my sophomore year at Hillsborough, my second year, our starting point guard actually ruptured his ACL, and so my coach, Coach Jones, he was one of my favourite coaches, because he really just trusted how I played the game, and so he said, look, you're this height, you've got good ball handling skills, you can shoot, I'm going to teach you how to be a point guard. And in my sophomore year, I was a starting point guard for our team, and for the whole season it was like that. So would I have been a different player, or would I have averaged a bit more if I was playing my regular position? Maybe. But did I learn a lot of stuff there that I've then taken on to the next level, the next bracket, and the next team? Of course. So that was probably one of the seasons that I enjoyed the most, because it was like you're really being noticed now for not just being a college player, but having some talent that coaches can play around with and be versatile and say, oh yeah, you can play the 3 and 4, but actually you're good enough to be a point guard, so let me teach you how to read the game and teach you how to put someone there and tell them to go there. And
so that was your first season, you said?
That was my second season.
Your second season?
Sophomore season. First season I kind of played my kind of 3-4, position.
And so then when you go to your third season,
third season.
how did that affect having picked up all of that from learning at Point?
Well, third season, is that when you made the jump to Montreat College?
Montreat, yeah. So I was jumped from Florida to Montreat in North Carolina. That was an NAIA school. So in reference to your question, from my sophomore year, I had a massive boost of confidence because I was like, I came and I really wanted to and was really close to getting my D1 offer. My first ever tournament, pre-season tournament in Florida, that any American had seen me play outside of my uni. We had kind of a jamboree tournament, which is essentially all the teams go, and it's kind of scouts from Division 1 colleges come and see how, what's new. And I got 3 business cards given to my assistant coach of top universities, and they said they wanted me to go, but I didn't know kind of the back and forth with it. But it turned out I wasn't eligible to transfer, so I had to wait until the end of the season. Now, if you think about these top colleges, the most valuable players for them are the freshmen, because they then can get 4 years worth of development from them and then build them to be the player that they want them to be in the system that they have. So that third year for me, that sophomore year for me, was a big, like, I'm just going to go crazy now, because I had a good season. I had good offers before, but those offers never came back around again for me. So I was kind of, it didn't go as planned to, as my American journey as I wanted it to. But everything happens for a reason. And in that third year, I played well that third year. And I adopted a bit more of the mentality of what we said earlier, where it's just like, I'm just going to go ahead and just go score. I don't care. I'll just do what I want. And as long as it's within the system and I'm respectful of what coach says and play within the plays that we've got, when I get it, might not even be 2 times that I'll touch the ball, and I'll just be like, I'll just go score now. And that's just, that helped me, I guess. So everything does happen for a reason, I believe. So that sophomore year when I was a point guard, it was definitely a good eye-opener and definitely a good lesson.
Well, like you said, the coach is seeing something and seeing the versatility and going, wow, we got someone who can cover 3 roles here at least. As far as the 2 different colleges, so you got Hillsborough Community College and Montreat College. As far as, like, I'm just picturing the crowd, like the home venues. What's that like? Is it as nuts as we see on TV?
So, yes and no. So it depends what you are. So loads of colleges are different. There are some places you turn up and there'd be like chairs there. That would be for like my first year in junior college. We had a very good facility at Hillsborough. There still is one now. And they've got a big kind of seated crowd. I think it hosts maybe as many as Force, to be fair. With that kind of junior college level, that's good. Now, when I went on to my sophomore and senior season, the crowd's got a lot bigger there. But, throughout all 4 years, I've played in stadiums that host, so many people that are like stadiums. And, of course, in my third year, we made it to the national tournament. And so that was something that was played in South Dakota, where it was like a massive stadium where NBA G League plays, and it was. That's
gotta be cool.
But then COVID hit, and then we had to fly back home.
So COVID hits, and they're going, everyone go home. You can't stay there and just shoot in the gym.
Yeah, no, we couldn't. And the day after the tournament, it was around spring break time. Around February time, the tournament was February, March. We took a flight back to North Carolina, and I was like, right, it's kind of spring break now. Like, what should we do? We stopped the season. It was the season ending tournament. We lost in the quarterfinal, and so we got back and we were like, okay, what do we do? And me and the boys are thinking, right, let's head down to Miami. Let's go, just chill. It's one of my last years in America. Let's just go down to Miami, have some fun. my mum's just like hitting me up, being like, right, your flight is in 2 days, and pack all your stuff because something crazy is about to happen. So that it was
Mum's looking out for you.
Yeah, it was a quick turn of events, and I was like, oh, no Miami, but it was for the best. And then we go straight into lockdown. So that was it.
Wow.
Because I think, I mean, I don't want to get in all the COVID stuff, but I think Florida was more relaxed, weren't they, from what I remember, as far as lockdown
took a
stuff?
bit longer and so forth, but still, it was,
Luckily, it worked out that I was able to fly, because obviously I still had to go back in the summer, after the summer, and they let all kind of the student athletes come back in, and kind of me fly back again at Christmas, and then it was like tier 2 here or whatever. And by the time that I left, luckily we were in the stage that I could actually fly out and stuff, so it worked out all right.
Yeah, it wasn't so much him being able to leave, it was the fact of the UK taking planes in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was just like, oh yeah, like you look at the flights, the amount of flights that were going on at that time, it went from
It was ideal.
5,000 a day to like 50 or something. Like, it was like
it was good, because I got a whole row for myself on every flight. It was just, yeah.
Adam had his feet up.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what,
good.
that's the one
Lean
thing
back.
about being my height. I look at it and go, someone like you get on a plane, I'm like,
Yeah, I hate it. Had to try and book that extra leg room or something.
oh, do you know what? I was on a flight once, and there was a dude who came in. He must have been 6'7", 6'8" at least. But he was a big guy, width-wise. And you go, I feel a bit bad. I've got this extra leg room in front of me right now. And then he sat behind me, and I was like, yeah, mate, do you want to swap seats? He's like, yeah, is that right?
Swap
It's like,
seats?
yeah, 100%.
So I was like, I don't
play.
give people evils, but I'm just like, if I'm sat in the middle and there's like old grandma next to me on the
Yeah.
aisle
sat
seat,
there like lovely.
yeah,
Like,
I'm like, do you mind?
Yeah.
Like, my knees do get a bit rusty.
they're nice and roomy, these seats, aren't they? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be a pain. That has got to be a pain.
So as far as the league is concerned then, I mean, I guess this is a cool thing they did, but at the same time there's an impact. So as far as the league, what you were saying before was they just kind of went, right, we're going to repeat the season.
Yeah, so the league, the NCAA, gave all of the student athletes their year back of competing eligibility. So if you wanted to go and compete for a 5th year, you could. Some people did, I didn't, and a load of other people didn't. But that was the option that was given to us, which then kind of affected the years after that for recruitment, because they weren't recruiting other people, new freshmen up. Everyone was just kind of transferring the portal, and everyone wanted seniors that had been experienced, that had a year left of eligibility. So it was a good time to get out, to be fair. But if I stayed, it would have been good as well.
Last Chance U, or that was what I was having to look up. They did something about COVID, I think, in that program on Netflix, and it was about some of the college games, and they were literally, everyone was on the coach. They're like, the game's been pulled because of COVID. And
Yeah.
like, we're on the coach. They're like, yeah, no, it's not happening. That's literally, as you're saying all this stuff, I'm thinking, this is echoing something I've seen.
It was a bizarre moment in time, really, wasn't
very
it?
strange.
Just imagine how many podcasts we would have out, Mark, if it happened again. Or we were doing the podcasts in those days. We'd have had we'd be in 100 in no time.
Well, you say
We'd
that.
do one a day.
Yeah, but we wouldn't be able to sit next to each other. So
Don't matter. We've recorded them.
You could have the screens up, couldn't you?
no. What would be happening is I'd be doing it in my house with my daughter running around. You'd be doing it in your house with your kids running around.
Yeah.
So all you just hear is
We've done that
destruction going off in the
in
background.
the south and northern studios.
Have you
done
just
that?
had a memory lapse and forgotten what it was like in lockdown? Yeah.
I remember there were
Homeschooling?
there
Shall
were
I say that?
there were goods and bads.
There were some good days and there were some bad days.
There were goods and some bads. I do remember. I
sport.
put this coaching video out because all the coaching stuff stopped, and I thought, what drills could the kids do at home? So I put this thing out. It was like within a few days, like 1,000 views. I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. I don't know what it ended up as, but it was
That is a weird time though. So you come back home. What do you do training wise? Were you one of the?
Hang on, before you ask that, the weirdest thing was at a certain point, you weren't allowed to go into a gym and play basketball it was 6 or less people, but you can go on an outdoor court and play 5-on-5. That was the weirdest thing. But go on, carry on.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, because actually, it was your brother who said, "Oh, we're going to go down and play." I was like, "We're not." What? He's like, "Yeah, me and Paul, we're going to go down and play because you can play outside."
Because you're outside, it's fine. Anyway, go with your question. What are you going to say?
What did you do? As you know, you've come off of these seasons. Athletically speaking, you're like, I'm really geared up here. What happens with your fitness and your everything like that with the lockdown and stuff? You know, it's not something we've actually really thought about or come across, but
surprisingly, didn't take too much of a hit. I've got Canoe Lake that's at the end of my road, and so
very famous lake.
Very
beautiful.
It's a very famous lake. You get to know Canoe Lake.
It's up there, like with Lake Garda and stuff, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it is absolutely.
So yeah, training there, but also I actually took it upon myself. I really wanted to start doing 5Ks because everyone was always posting online of their kind of Strava runs or how quick they could run 5K, and so I was like, this would be a nice little competition. So yeah, so off the record, me and my best mate, we were competing in that a couple times a week, and trying to get sub 20, which we got eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
I reckon I could have gone faster, but we stopped it.
There's the competitive.
It was
I could have done.
It was the shin splints. It was everything, but it was something good to look forward to, and then obviously like a load of home workouts and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But it's I want to say like the.
Hang on, sub 20 is bloody good.
Yeah,
that is very good.
Yeah, we're not going to glaze over that.
That is really good.
I've got long legs, so it's an excuse, I guess.
But everyone was trying to do that, trying to compete.
Yeah,
and I was doing it.
They post it online, and you'd be like, "Oh yeah, that was all right," or "Yeah, that was." He was doing it quick, wasn't he?
I was trying to do exactly what you're doing, get a sub 20, and I was doing it with Portsmouth Fury guy Steve Ware.
Yeah.
And we were messaging each other our times, and I really went for it. I think I had Foo Fighters on, really went for it one day. Did it in 21 minutes, 12 seconds. And I was like,
that's good.
Damn, that's good.
Yeah.
Message Steve. There you go, mate. 21:12. He messaged me back instantly, just done 21:10. I was like, I need the Strava.
Yeah.
And he sent it to me. I was like, yeah, it's 2 seconds quicker.
Receipts.
Yeah.
I never did it quicker than that.
There was a guy at my work at the time who was they were all talking about doing something like this online, and he said, those times are all rubbish, like, are you slow or something? What he didn't realize is they were talking about running. He was a cyclist, so he was like doing 5K in like 20 minutes. Like, how slow are you? What are you doing? But he just hadn't worked on that we were talking about running, so he was absolutely laying into people like, Christ, you got to pick your knees up, you got to do this. He was just chatting away, and it's like,
wow. People complained a lot about lockdown, but a lot of people had not a bad time.
There were some good
moments. You learned a lot of stuff about yourself. In my house, there's 6 of us in the penthouse, so it's quite tight, and we struggled to get along sometimes. But you learn how to you learn how to get on and adapt. But people learn a lot about themselves, and they actually
I agree with that.
What was good was that people had time to develop themselves. A lot of people every day, people get caught up on what you got to do next, or you got to go to this podcast, or you got work tomorrow, you got to get up early, or meal prep, or there's never really time to sit there and think about, well, what do you want to do in the next few years, or set goals, or do this, or start a new hobby, or read a book, or so there was stuff like that I feel like I saw a lot online that people were starting, and I was like, yeah, good job. Like,
I think the word reflection is what comes to mind.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. Like, in that time, it was a lot of negatives, and you can see things like where like the kids, like my kids, wanted to go outside and they couldn't. It was really affecting them. But there are other things like I can't remember how old she was at the time. Must have been 3 or 4. But my little girl, I taught her how to write her name, and I always remember that. It's like, right, let's write. She was 4. Mark's telling me. Let's start, put the E, and we did that, and we worked it. I mean, she's got a long, it's Elizabeth, she's got a long name. But again, like reflection, not that she's ever going to listen to this, but, seeing like the strength in other people, like my wife, around her, mentality around it, and, doing, work, homeschooling and all of that. But yeah, right. Let's get back onto basketball, Mark. Right, so this is a huge one.
Uh-oh.
So hang on. So you did your extra year. Well, you know what I mean. The year where you went back after COVID.
Yeah, my senior year. Yeah.
And then what happens then? Because we know you end up in the BBL.
Yeah.
So where's
How
that?
did it happen?
How's that journey?
Yeah, good question. So when I came back, I was deciding what I wanted to do, where I was going to play. Basically, was the next level. What door could I get into that I could basically take myself to the next level and put it on my resume for the next season, and trying to be kind of 2 steps ahead on that. So I've got so funny enough that the guy I mentioned earlier, Kalen, his dad was the head coach. Kalen Raftopoulos, Creon Raftopoulos, was the former Scorchers head coach. So Kalen, I hit him up and was like, yo, like, is there any chance that I could come to some of the summer runs, or I really want to be kind of the young player on the team, and I'm fine with doing whatever. I don't need anything. I just want to be on the team. And so that was where I got in. So I went to those summer leagues where this is summer, so everyone is back home. So everyone that's playing EuroLeague, everyone that's playing, whatever league in France or wherever, are playing, and they like to go to the best runs in the country, which a lot of the time is London, or it is, at the Surrey Sports Park. So I turn up and there's everybody there. I meet a load of people, speak to a load of people. Andrew Lawrence is there, obviously he plays there now at Scorchers, but at the time, I was going against him and stuff like that, and it was like a big eye opener to be like, okay, this is what I need to be getting into. So I was just like a sponge of just learning like everything. I'd speak to loads of people and be like, what would you do in this situation, or like, how did you deal with this, or what do you think I need to do? And the reason I kind of had faith was because people could spot my talent, and obviously at this point I'm 22, so I'm old enough to people, they're not just like talking to a young kid anymore. They're talking to somebody that they'd compete with and be like, after 18, people don't really care what age you are. You're a man, and like you're going to be, played against like you're a man. That's it. But people like reached out there and kind of helped me understand what I need to do. And Creon, the head coach, very nice guy. Couldn't fault him. He gave me the opportunity to be the young player on the team. So I did my driving test like that year. I hadn't drove the whole time because I'd never needed to. Got my driver license, got a car, and then I was just up and back to Guildford every day for training, for games, for everything, and just learnt a lot, so much. It was almost like my sophomore year in America where I was a point guard. It was like so much information was, inputted into my brain. It was.
And what sort of information?
It was reading the game, like, what are you doing here? Like, make the extra pass, or can you not see he's open, or you need to dribble a bit lower, or it was everything from technical to tactical. And then because I'm a visual learner, I would then read how they were off the court as well. Like, how do they walk around? Like, do they, how respectful are they? Or it is always my thing to be respectful to anybody. I don't care if you're bringing me water, behind the where we sit as players. You have to give respect to everybody. That's like a non-negotiable for me. Yeah. So it was like, how do I elevate those small things as a professional to get me ready, so that when I'm on the court and I'm copying the style of play that people are, or really exploring how I play as a player and finding the best kind of style of play for myself. They were the lessons that they taught me, and it was pretty full on, but I learned a lot, and I thank them all.
And different from the States, obviously.
Very different to the States, yeah.
But it's the same process. Like Adam's
exactly.
saying, he's a sponge, he's taking it all in. But it's so interesting that you said you're paying attention to what they're doing off the court as well. I mean, clearly you had your networking, ability there to get there. But then it's like, well, how is this guy handling himself?
Yeah.
How is he talking to people and stuff like that? That's really interesting you say that.
The two people for me that stood out the most, that we don't speak all the time, but if I was to go and meet them or call them, it would be oh, what's up, man? Like, yeah, it's been good. Is Andrew Lawrence and Teo Ogundembe. He obviously the captain at Scorchers, but those two were like kind of my older brothers, and every day at practice and learning and stuff. And I used to help coach with Teo and his business for his teams that he's got over in kind of Farnborough way.
Oh, cool.
But he Farnham way, sorry. So yeah, just learning loads of stuff like on and off the court and asking him questions. Oh, what was it like playing overseas, or this and this. Obviously at this point I hadn't gone overseas, and they were just teaching me everything. And how I am now is partly credit to everybody, but also those people that are professional that I've witnessed and learned from. So yeah, a lot of lessons learned.
I've got some real lame questions here.
Go ahead.
Based on what you said.
Fire 'em away.
When you get to the BBL,
Yeah.
what's the squad size? So is it 12 players, or is it more depth to that?
It's no more than 15.
Okay.
But you can survive on 12. The 12 would be all right.
So there could be 15 players, but they're picking 12 for the game.
Yeah.
Because I know if you look like Lions, they've got a deep squad. But then you look at someone like, I guess at the start of the season, Manchester Giants, when they went to a game and they had 9 players, and it's like, okay, their squad was probably
8. I think
we had in our season we had 8 players.
Yeah.
Sometimes I kid you not, we had 7 players turn up to a game once.
How's that happen?
to a game.
Yeah.
Do you
Injury?
I don't know if you know this one. Do you get fined for that? Does the team get fined? I know in the NBL you used to get like, I don't know what it was, but there was a fine if you had, I think, less than 8. Do you get that? And do you get fines in the BBL for stuff
That's
like
something that the coach and the team
behind the scenes?
Yeah, behind the scenes. That I'm sure there is some kind of stuff put in place to prevent stuff like that from happening. But as far as injuries concerned, then it's the latter end of the season. It's not much you can do. You can't really bring somebody else in for. We brought in local players that had played for Scorchers many years ago just to fill up a spot. So it was like in my season, it was crazy. The year after that, Creon unfortunately lost the job, and so that's when Lloyd came on down from Manchester. So he's the current coach at the moment. But while it was all crazy for the professionals, for me it was really good to just be a sponge and learn. And although we weren't winning, we finished bottom of the table. It was, in reference to what we said earlier about losing teams, it was Scorchers. But I wasn't there for that. I wasn't there to make an impact enough to win the game, but I was there enough to make my impact of how I showed myself to the coach. Everything that he taught me during the week, would I go and do it on the weekend, or would I just revert to whatever my brain says, So yeah, it was a lot of lessons.
And when you actually get into Surrey, like,
yeah,
I'm guessing you have a contract and you sign your contract, and that's got to be really cool to actually be signing something and going, I'm getting paid to play basketball now. That's got to be the coolest thing ever, right?
So it was cool, apart from I didn't do that at Surrey because I was a young player who was a volunteer there. I didn't sign my first contract until the year after. So although I was playing in professional teams, I've been playing in professional teams for 2 years, only one of them has been paid for. Now, some expenses were paid for, so technically you could say that was some kind of level of professionalism. But in terms of signing contracts, I didn't have to sign anything except kind of a few things, but they weren't like official ones. The first one I did was in Saudi. So,
and I don't know. Again, this is part of my lame questions. Is when you're playing for Surrey Scorchers, you've got, how many kits have you got? And is that your kit?
Yeah, I've still got it in my house now.
That I should have asked you, can you bring it? Because this is one of the kits I really like. I remember
the blue one.
Well, no, there's 2 different sleeves. I think it's like
Yellow
a black. It's a black sleeve and a pink sleeve, and what I remember.
Yeah, I still got that. It's like a t-shirt.
Yeah, so they give you yeah. So they give you that as soon as you join the team. So here's all your stuff, and then that's yours forever. You don't hand that in.
No,
that's amazing.
It's got your name.
I don't know if that's a lame question or not.
No,
that's why I said these are lame questions.
Because you, growing up, you always just get given the jersey that comes out the bag.
Yeah,
and that's it. it's washed. Well, you'd hope it would be washed. And sometimes they don't smell like they're washed.
I was always fired for my number.
Yeah, but growing up, it was just like that. Everyone would be like, oh, I'm grabbing 10 or I'm grabbing 3 or whatever. But when you get to that level, it's like, you walk in, the jerseys are nicely put up there, and everyone works together, from kind of the people who do the washing and put your, get the locker room set up to the head coach. Like everyone is.
Yeah. So my brain has just gone. So you walk into your locker room and it's exactly what we see on the TV. It's all like what's lined up for you. Everything says. What do you take in?
So you walk in, depending on the team, of course. You walk in, and there'd definitely be like fruit and stuff on the table as you walk in, and then next to it would be some sweets, because some people like a bit of sugar rush, kind of
jelly babies
half time. Yeah, jelly babies or whatever.
That would be you.
That's 100%. Classic. When you go and you're running, you have your jelly babies.
Yeah. I never did too
Everyone
much of it,
knows
but they were there, and some people did snack on them. I did snack on them a few times, but yeah, then you head into the locker room, and all your jerseys and kind of warm up stuff are there, and kind of a bottle of water, etc., and what stuff you would need. So if I knew that I had to go and get my ankles taped, then my tape would be there, so I just have to take it and go and get my ankles taped by the physio and stuff. And yeah, if you want a pre-game massage or you want whatever, you just go get it done. Everything's there in place.
Do you bring your shoes or do you leave them there?
So most people left their shoes there, because I was going back and forth, and sometimes I'd play here in Portsmouth on the weekend. I'd always have them in my car. But yeah, when I played in different seasons, it's been different. Yeah, at uni, in college in America, it was different. I used to just leave my shoes there underneath my seat. Everyone did that. So
all right,
you have your own seat in America. And
so what we're going to get in the sneakers now then. So do you have a sneaker for the season?
What my go-to sneaker?
Yeah. Is there one that's particularly, like say like your brother likes phone posits?
Are we talking?
And they're like old school, but they still.
Is this BBL now?
I'm just wondering. I'm curious.
And do they buy that for you? Like, do you have like a home shoe and away shoe, or
no? So professionals, unless you get to like the top level where you've signed contracts with Nike or Under Armour. In the professional levels, you tend to wear your own shoes. Now, in college in America, the teams are often sponsored.
Yeah.
So we'd always get given shoes. Like I never had my own pair of shoes that I had to bring, apart from it being like a workout shoe. So they'd give us sometimes 2 pairs of shoes, and yeah, you just choose the style. We decide as a team and have a team shoe and have a travel shoe and have a travel kit. And
this is so cool, isn't it? Yeah. You don't need to do anything other than turn up.
Yeah.
Well, obviously I'm playing all that stuff.
Yeah. And all the other hard work. But it all helps it. So it all helps it.
Amazing. And like when you turning up to the arena and stuff, I mean, how early are you getting there before a game? If tip-off's at like 7 o'clock, 7:45 is it? What is it in the BBL? 7:15, I think.
7:15, 7:30. Depends what day of the week it is.
When do you like? What's that day like? How early do you have to get before the game?
I'm guessing that based on the mentality of the player as well, because I'm guessing there's a time that you need to be there.
There's a time that you can't go past. The time before that, we'll have like a shoot around in the morning, and then you're kind of free to do what you want, and then meet back here by like 5 or by 4:30 or something like that. So it's never normally more than 3 hours before the game. But some people, depending on their routine, of course, like you mentioned, people turn up earlier, people turn up later, last minute. They prefer to just come in, rush, get ready, and go straight out, and like that's it there. And then there's no time to kind of think. Everyone is different.
What's yours?
What's
your routine?
Yeah, mine is typically it will be kind of the morning shoot around, and then I'd stay around, because obviously, for example, Surrey, I wouldn't then just drive back back to Surrey again. So I'd stay there and just go to kind of the houses of the players, just chill with the Americans for a little bit, and then I'd get there as soon as it was kind of ready and set open, because in Scorchers at the sports park they lay the floor, so it's not the same floor that you have on kind of your regular day for the uni, because it's the University of Surrey. So it will be like all the badminton lines and stuff, and then they'll lay the floor for the Scorchers. So you have to kind of wait until that's done before you can actually get on the court and start shooting yourselves. Plus, they obviously bring the hoops out and stuff. They're not ones that come down. So when that's out, though, you can go ahead.
Brilliant. And what's Surrey Park like? What's like when you were there? I mean, there it's about 1,000 you guys get in there. Is that right?
Yeah.
You know, what's that like? How loud does that crowd get?
The Surrey fans are arguably best, if not top 3 best in the BBL, just because of how well it sells out, and how loyal the fans are. There's a load of season ticket holders. There's a load of people that just like never watched a basketball game, but that they'll turn up for their first game. And it will just be a recurring thing. So the only issue for Surrey is how can they fit more people in? So that's the only issue for them, because you can't put fans on the other end or on the 2 sides. You can only have it kind of where, you know, Portsmouth Force is. It's only on one side that you have all the spectators, but that's just a facility issue.
Facilities are the big one over in the UK, I think. It's, like obviously you've been in the States and stuff, even when talking with Simon, saying over in, you know, France and places all around the other countries, you see it in like Lithuania and places like that. You think, all right, what's basketball in Lithuania like? Well, it's one of the best in the world. Like, they just got a massive stadium, 15,000 people, sell it out. That's where you're training. No badminton lines.
And I think for the BBL to really take off where they want to do it, you need a bit like what London have done with their arena. I mean, what's that? 6,500, 7,000, is it?
Yeah.
No, I think it might even be more than that.
No, it's just over 6,000, but that was previously it's not volleyball, it's handball or something, wasn't it? It was built for the Olympics, for like netball.
Oh, okay.
Handball and stuff.
But then there's a big jump down. I think it might be Caledonia. Use then like 4,000 or something like that. Newcastle aren't a million miles away with 3,000. But it's, imagine you had 10 teams even that had London Lions facility. I think the league would just
it'd be
progress bigger than.
If you think about kind of Scorchers where they're capped at the seats that they have, they don't really have the problem of getting people to come watch it. They've got the problem of capacity.
Yeah.
So that they've only got one chance to, you know, increase revenue, and that's just by putting tickets up.
Yeah.
So logically, that's the only way you can really grow, unless you kind of try and win with, you know, paying less salaries for players or stuff. It doesn't really work. So. No. But they're, you know, this year they're finding a way. They've had a few good years now of Coach Lloyd, and they're not bottom anymore. So that's
very true. They have some big good wins.
Yeah,
big wins.
They're doing really well.
They were they the first to dent the crown?
No, Plymouth I think were the first to dent the crown. I think then Surrey were afterwards.
Okay.
They have just.
So by dent the crown, we're talking London.
Yeah.
They have just taken a win against Caledonia though in the trophy, I believe.
They nearly dent the crown.
Yeah,
they nearly did. They were winning all 3 quarters.
Yeah,
and then last quarter they lost by 3.
That is a pattern with London.
That's a pattern with Scorchers too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode. That is the end of this part. But do not worry, because coming soon is the second part of this episode, and it will be available soon.